I'm Johnny Millennium, this is Victor Lucas, and this is Film Fury, and we just got out of a screening of a new Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Always an amazing event, always an amazing time. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, starring Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Vic, started off, what did you think of this movie?
Well, first of all, it's an incredible, say what you will about the plot and Tarantino's kind of eccentric storytelling. The trip into 1969 Hollywood is something to behold. It's absolutely incredible what they've done with all of the environmental work, like shooting in Hollywood, but sort of de-aging Hollywood. You know,
all
in
the
a
old
literal
cars
sense,
and buildings.
Yeah, the cars and the neon signage and all of these landmarks, and then also intercutting and interweaving the story of Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, into all of these old pictures. And his contemporaries are people like Steve McQueen and Bruce Lee, and he's encountering, but he's also being edited into some of these classic films and classic interview type sequences. And it's seamless. It's so wonderful to see this fastidious work that Tarantino's. It's a love letter to that kind of old 60s, 70s Hollywood.
Before we get into the story, let's talk about the acting.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, and some of the acting performances in this movie by both these guys and everybody else, I was applauding.
Yeah.
There was some moments I was like in awe.
Especially Leo.
Do you know what? Especially Leo.
Yeah.
I was watching him, and I'm like, this guy is not only on the top of his game, he is the game.
He's another level.
He's
Yeah.
another level
Yeah.
that I've
Yes.
never seen before.
That was the best acting I've ever seen in my whole life.
Like you.
Rick Dalton, the character that he plays, is this fading star, and he's having to grapple with that. And so you see this guy that looks like a movie star, because DiCaprio is a movie
so
star.
wild, yeah.
And you can see that this is a guy that was used to kind of prominence and being out there and having the chops to do everything properly, but he's screwing up.
He's
And you
second-guessing himself.
Yes, and you can see it all happening. And so he'll do takes in the movie where he's playing a movie within a movie,
I know.
a character within a character, and he's performing, and it's great, and then he cracks and it crumbles, and then it's not so good, and you're just in all of the interior kind of monologue that's happening. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable on so many levels. This movie is going to take me a long time to unpack because there's so many levels to it. And I think Blake said it the best. That's a guy who works with Vic. It's a very self-indulgent movie, and I really agree with him on that because it's just Quentin Tarantino's love letter to back then, and it's 2 hours and 45 minutes of going back into the past, seeing Bruce Lee, revisiting all the amazing things that made Hollywood great and terrible and amazing and horrible at the same time, and it's just so much to take in that near the end of the movie, and we're not going to ruin anything.
No.
This movie is a freaking trip and a half.
Right, do you expect that with Quentin Tarantino?
Sort of, but I didn't, because the movie takes you a certain way, and then all of a sudden, I'm not saying it just goes some other directions, and wow, it's blows your mind.
Sharon Tate is another major character in this, and she is obviously famous for the horrific murder that occurred, and so yes, that's another element within the story, but it's such a cavalier. It's like a real escape when we go into this.
It's a real escape.
Because he just takes the time to just let the scenes hang and the moments hang, and we get the sense of place. There's a lot of scenes of people driving across Los Angeles, which is what you do when you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and playing music and stuff like that. It's almost like Quentin Tarantino is painting a picture of what Hollywood used to be, but it's his interpretation, and he's very self-indulgent with it, in that he's doing it the way he wants to do it. It's not quite what happened. It's his take on what happened, and it's a trip. It's weird and it's unusual.
It's his fictionalized sort of tale.
Yeah, and it's
that's what it sets up with the title, which I love. And this also is a love letter, I think, to the Robert Altman style of swinging from one conversation to another, and you have a very crowded screen, and we're going from character to character and life to life, and it feels almost documentary styled in some of the way that these scenes play out. It's not like a typical we have a trajectory that we have to kind of get from A to B to C. Like Tarantino just likes to be languid and just let us kind of follow around and get into a car. And watching Brad Pitt's character, what's his name, Clint?
I forget his actual name.
It's just Brad Pitt. I mean, it's Brad Pitt playing the coolest guy in the world.
Playing the stuntman.
Yeah. And he's just driving back and forth, but he drives at like insane speeds because he can handle himself in any situation. And it's just fun to kind of see the little drips of character stuff in there, but it feels I don't know. It's surreal, but it feels real. You know?
Right. And I think it's the thing that only Quentin Tarantino can do.
Yeah.
The thing is people going into this movie, it's a long movie. It's a long sit down. But if you just let yourself go into the world, I'm applauding that he gets the right to make this kind of movie, because you don't see this kind of movie made, no pun intended, in Hollywood.
Yes.
I mean, who gets to make a movie like this?
Yes.
It's crazy. I know I've said it 3 times, self-indulgent. Only he can be this self-indulgent in his own world and, can go and do this. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I would say that there's been other movies where he's been more self-indulgent or
really?
more
What
indulgent.
do you think? What do you think? What do you mean?
I mean, I thought Inglourious Bastards was a bit...
it was a little, yes.
I thought, wonderful work. The thing about all of Tarantino's movies is there's always wonderful work in them, and I always appreciate them.
The art
and
of
you
it.
mentioned it's an event, and that's exactly what this movie is again. Every one of his pictures are. And I think that he likes to toil in the uncomfortable and the unexpected.
Yeah.
And he wants to, put... The other thing about this movie is that the eruption of violence feels like it could happen at any moment, and you're sitting on the edge of your seat.
We won't say when anything happens.
As much as you're uncomfortable from how slow-paced it might be and how long we're hanging on uncomfortable takes and stuff, you just always feel like there is an imminent danger.
What's going to happen?
Yes.
You never know what's going to happen. That's the thing in this movie.
Yeah.
You don't know what the hell is going to happen every 10 minutes. You're like, what's going to happen? Where are we going with this?
And I didn't get bored at all.
Not at all.
And there are some Tarantino pictures where like Hateful Eight kind of bored me in some places.
Oh, wow.
I thought
was
this
really in that
movie
one.
was masterful. I
Masterful,
really did.
yeah.
I mean, I loved the era. The actors were wonderful.
Beyond wonderful.
And it was just a really incredible trip. I really loved this movie.
And that's a trip. All this was like going into this movie and it was escapism into Hollywood, into this amazing story and losing yourself in the characters.
Yes.
I think it's everything he wanted to do.
Yeah.
I felt
clearly.
that. You felt that.
Yeah, I mean,
it accomplishes
he has
that.
this creative license, and the thing about Tarantino movies, and you could probably say this about Kubrick stuff too, is that you go and you re-examine them and you see them again at a different point in your life, and you get more from them. And he is very judicious on what he chooses to do, and that's a big payoff for us as audience members. We get to see something very special from an honest to goodness auteur, somebody that you just you look at and you go, yeah, this man has earned his place there. He's able to do this kind of work and bring us along for the ride. And I don't know. This was one of the most satisfying Tarantino movies I've ever seen.
I think it was very, very satisfying. Yeah. The humor is there as well. The terrifyingness is there as well. We're not going to say anything more than that.
Yeah.
This movie's wild. What are you going to give this movie out of 10?
I freaking loved it. 9.5. What are you giving it?
You know what? I'm gonna be right there with you. 9.5 for me as well.